Echoes of the Storm, Conquering the Delusion. Welcome to today's analysis. Alright, let's dive straight into our topic. Today, we are going to talk about an ancient allegory that is incredibly vivid. This material comes from a wonderful sharing by the Buddha Activity Association of Australia. We aren't just here to listen to a nice story, more importantly, we want to unearth the powerful strategies from it that can truly help us master our own minds and conquer our mental states. Are you ready? Let's begin. Part E, Ultimate Rescue. Shattering Illusions. The story begins with absolute spine-chilling intensity. Imagine this scene. 500 hopeful merchants set out to sea to hunt for treasure. They are happily returning with a full cargo when suddenly they encounter a terrifying black storm in the middle of the ocean. The towering waves treat their ship like a mere toy, tossing it back and forth into midair. Help! We are doomed. Who can save us? This was undoubtedly their most genuine cry of despair at that life-or-death moment. Right in the midst of this crisis, the son of the caravan leader tells everyone not to fear. He leads the entire group in sincere prayer to Shakyamuni Buddha. And guess what? A miracle actually happens. Blessed by an inconceivable power of compassion, the raging storm instantly calms down. Without even realizing how, they safely make it ashore. This brings us to our first section, Ultimate Rescue, Shattering Illusions. After the merchants return safely, they pay respects to the Buddha. The Buddha takes this opportunity to teach them how to shatter the illusion of attachment to the self, ultimately leading them to ordain as monks and achieve true, ultimate spiritual freedom. Part 2, Echoes of Karma. A plot twist. You might think this is the perfect happy ending, right? But actually, there is a massive surprise hidden behind it. The Buddha tells his disciples that this is by no means the first time he has saved this exact same group of people from a raging sea. This is a perfect demonstration of the karmic cycle often spoken of in Buddhism. In a distant past life, when the Buddha was a sage endowed with supernatural powers, these same 500 merchants encountered a hurricane at sea. They cried out to the sage for help, and the sage manifested divine transformations to rescue them. Later, they followed the sage in cultivation and achieved heavenly attainments. Fast forward to this lifetime, the exact same 500 people, the exact same shipwreck. However, the now fully enlightened well-doned one does not just rescue them from a physical storm. He pulls them completely out of the ultimate storm of endless samsara, guiding them toward nirvana. Look at how the physical rescue of the past life perfectly echoes the spiritual salvation of this lifetime. Isn't it profound? Part 3, in the Storm. The Modern Matrix. Here, the Dharma Master from the Buddha Activity Association of Australia poses a very short question that forces us to reflect. If the Buddha has been liberating sentient beings for countless centuries, why are we today still living such exhausted lives, still struggling in the sea of suffering? Here is the crux of the matter. The Master points out incisively that our real enemy is no longer the visible wind and rain of the external world. The true enemy is actually the 5 poisons lurking inside our minds: greed, anger, ignorance, arrogance, and doubt. These 5 deeply rooted psychological afflictions are the ultimate storms we have yet to conquer. Think about it. If we cannot even control our own tempers and desires, how can we ever be truly free? Among these 5 poisons, the core is ignorance. The Association's teachings make it very clear that ignorance is definitely not just a simple lack of knowledge or education. It is actually a highly dangerous habit. Ignorance means that we blindly follow our impulses, feelings, and delusions. We are so accustomed to indulging these feelings that we even treat these inner thieves, the ones stealing our peace every single day, as our best friends. As long as we keep letting these blind impulses take the steering wheel of our lives, we are doomed to keep spinning in suffering, unable to escape. Part 4, Building Spiritual Habits. The Analogy of Mastery. Of course, overcoming these impulses is not a magical feat that happens overnight. It requires step-by-step cultivation to build powerful spiritual habits. Let's use a very down-to-earth example. Think about how we learned to walk when we were babies. We watched adults do it, started trying to imitate them, and then fell down countless times. But did we give up learning just because we fell? Absolutely not. Training the mind and establishing discipline works exactly the same way. When we decide to stop being led by the nose by greed, anger, and ignorance, we will definitely fail at times. We will accidentally slip and fall. But that's okay. As long as we dust ourselves off, stand back up, and keep training, we will eventually master it with ease. The master also used an excellent analogy, putting on clothes. When we were kids, we might have found wearing clothes annoying and restrictive, but adults kept teaching us. And now, getting dressed has become an unbreakable habit. If someone asked you to walk naked down the street today, could you do it? Absolutely not. Why? Because the habit is etched into your bones. Spiritual discipline is just like that. When we transform self-discipline into a habit piece by piece, it becomes our effortless second nature. At that level, you don't even have to think about whether to keep the precepts, because you yourself are freedom. This brings us to a very realistic question we often face in daily life. When a wave of anger suddenly surges within you, or when you see something you like and a burst of greed explodes, what happens to those intense impulses if you actually follow the master's advice, staying awake, ignoring them, and refusing to follow them? Where do they go? This is truly the most striking insight of the entire analysis. The master explains that these impulses and delusions are like parasites. They sustain themselves by feeding on our attention and actions. When you ignore them and refuse to dance to their tune, what can they do to you? The answer is absolutely nothing. Because they cannot consume your energy, they are ultimately left to starve to death miserably in a corner. In other words, when greed arises and you do not indulge it, over time, it dies. When it dies, you achieve true liberation. This is genuine freedom. Part 5. Awakening from Delusion. Stepping out of the matrix. Having heard so much ancient wisdom, we must now make a choice and take action. Before we conclude today's analysis, I want to leave you with a deeply profound dialogue. A practitioner once lamented, feeling that they were constantly living in delusion, like building a castle in the air that could be popped with a single poke. To this, the master replied very directly, yes, that is self-deception. This forces us to ask ourselves, in our daily lives, how many decisions are made purely out of momentary impulse? Are we also building a fragile castle in the air for ourselves? The next time the storm in your heart rages again, will you choose to keep feeding it, or will you let it starve to death completely? Keep this question in mind and really think about it. See you next time.